Hi, I'm John Robert Sutton. I travel the globe searching for unique foods that have been shared by generations of families, culture, and tradition. I will connect you to the stories behind well-sourced food and the people and places who make it happen. Welcome to Truth in Food. I got back a few days ago from Europe, specifically a region in France, which would be the, I would say, eastern, kind of middle southeastern part of France, just below Geneva. And it was referred to me through a connection through a friend of mine. She has a company in Paris, and there was a gentleman who was a lawyer who owns a winery out there in the Ain region, AIN. My French is terrible. And Bourget is the region, the wine-making region down there. So I was invited to go, like I do in many of these trips, just to see if I could do business with them. They wanted me to bring in the restaurant concept, the bistro concept, into the U.S. from this region of France. I had never heard of it before, and it was explained to me that this region in France isn't really even known to the French. It's not known that well. The wines, the cuisine that's from this really ancient region of the Romans there. And again, imagine driving south of Geneva along the Rhone River. And the Rhone River kind of starts in Geneva and goes all the way down and dumps out by Marseille, all the way down there. So Avignon and the Châteauneuf-du-Pape and Lyon and all that river runs the whole way. Now, this region is really the breadbasket of where French cuisine was started way, way back in the day. It's also the region that when Napoleon escaped from Elba, he snuck up through this Jura region. It's where the Jura mountain actually comes crashing down to the Rhone, and that's the end of the Jura mountain. And little over the Rhone River, you have the start of the Alps. And Napoleon snuck through there after he escaped from Elba. He had a little battle of his troops that tried to stop him actually from France, from Paris. He won, and then they marched on, and he was defeated at Waterloo. But you literally sit there and you look up at this massive Colombier mountain. It's like almost reminds you of Yosemite. It almost reminds you of that big of cliff that comes right down into the Rhone. And up there this year is where the Tour de France is going to climb all the way to the top of this hill and end one of the stages of the Tour de France. So I'm like, you know what? I've never heard of this region. It's an open invitation. The whole idea is to meet the chefs there, taste the wine, see what's there, and then bring back what French food should be here in the United States. I mean, if you've gone to any type of French restaurant, it's kind of disappeared. You don't really see them so much. French restaurants they're not French. A French restaurant from Paris is just seen as like this 3 Michelin star thing and fancy, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about French comfort food. You know, really, really that mushroom foraging for mushrooms and the chicken. And from that region, there's a chicken place that I visited. It won the gold medal of not only the best chicken in France, but the best chicken on earth. It's called Bresse, Chicken Poulet de Bresse, the city of Bresse. It's where Jacques Pepin comes from. He's a very famous French chef that's been here in America and was on TV all the time with Julia Childs. But this chicken, it's known because of the genetic purity. And it runs all over the ground and eats very cleanly. It's not a Franken chicken. There's no hormones. There's no antibiotics. And so these chickens are running all over, and it takes about 5 months to grow before you have just this unbelievable chicken. the protein that they get, part of it is from eating worms and natural bugs and stuff on the grass where it's running around a massive area. And then at night they all go back into the coop and then come out during the day. So this chicken is very famous for that, and it's known for it. And it's this particular place won the gold medal. And so Bourg-en-Bresse, again, is a region that makes unbelievable Pinot Noir. And these grapes, again, come from that region. You've got the Rhone River that has a shale that has carved its way through the mountain. It's very chalky soil. And these are where the grapes grow, and they've been growing since Roman times there. And these are some of the most amazing wines that you can imagine. And this one here is a Pinot Noir from Bourg-en-Bresse. And this particular winery, La Femme de Jean, and you drink this wine and it puts so many Pinots to shame. Even this wine in Paris no one's heard of, because the region is not Bordeaux, it's not the Champagne region, it's not Montrachet, it's not some famous thing. But let me tell you, this is coming up big time. And I also visited a cheese shop, and what was so unique about that is they called it a Swiss cheese, but it had so much flavor because it was aged 5 years. And what they do is they go and starting off at 4 in the morning and collect milk from 5 different farms every day and bring that back and start making the cheese at 7:30 in the morning. And it's in these giant wheels, and it's stored in these racks for aging. And the vats that they make the cheese out of are all copper. So there's these massive copper vats that the milk is going in, and they make the cheese out of that, and they add rennet from the throat of goats and the throat of animals to throw in there and harden that cheese. It's all natural. It's an ancient, very ancient way of making cheese. And then he was pulling out 4 and 5 year old wheels, and he was taking a mallet and banging all around to see if there was any cracks in there. And if there's cracks, that's the time to get it out of there. It's ready. And there's different styles. The younger cheeses are really used for fondues. The older cheeses are unbelievable just to eat on itself. And I was so taken back by the friendliness of the local people there, how they were so proud to what they showed. And it was late at night when I arrived, and they weren't hurrying around. We sat there. They actually took out a 5-year-old cheese and took a cheese, I don't know what it's called, but it's almost like something that you drill a hole in, and it goes into the cheese and it pulls out, and a beautiful, nice hunk of it comes out, and you get to eat it. And then he slid it back in to continue to age. So I found that was so unique in that area. And when I was there, the governor of the whole region was there at the same time, and we were discussing what the next iteration of French food is, French comfort food that can come to the U.S. and what restaurant can open up. And looking at that region, I said, you know what, instead of just opening up a restaurant in L.A. or New York, why don't you look at a region that matches that in the U.S.? And we came up with Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And as you know, Jackson Hole has very, very big mountains, and the mountains are named the Grand Tetons. Well, the French named it Tetons, and basically that's the T word of a lady. And so when they saw those big peaks, that's why they named it the Tetons. Exactly, just like that. And they're big, And so the French have a long history in that valley. So to open up a French bistro there, and as well as bring in all these products that were seen in that area, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity because in America, we have lost the true source of so many foods out there. I mean, we are fooled every single day. You go and you see a product that has a French name on it, and you turn it around. No one turns around and sees where it's from. They just subliminally and psychologically think because it has a French name on it, Paris or, Normandy butter, that it's from there. Well, it's absolutely not. It's made in the U.S. The same thing with so many foods from Mexico. They have Mexican names, but they're not made in Mexico. So what I'm trying to do is bring back food from the source, from food that have had ancient history of being made during Roman times, and allow you to experience that culture and that tradition. You think, oh, it's going to cost so much. It really isn't. Why does food cost so much? Because these large corporations have so much debt to pay. I mean, if you look at the debt load of Kraft Foods, you'd be stunned because their botched acquisition of Heinz ketchup caused billions of dollars in debt, and they're floundering as a company. So they continue to spin lies to the public thinking that they have this incredible food, but they don't. It is made in parts of the U.S. that are truly chemical wastelands, and you need to be aware of it. So what I'm doing is bringing products in from this part of France, the cheeses, the chicken, the herbs, the wines, and a vast array of other things, the terrines that are made there, the strawberries, the local strawberries that are made and turned into local jams, and the butter. When you have true creamery butter that's made naturally from grass-fed cows with no antibiotics, and you realize, what, butter is good for you. We have this idea that, oh my God, butter's not good for you. Well, that's because it's loaded with chemicals. It's fake. It does not have really natural cream from the cows. It's filled with antibiotics. It's filled with so many bad colors. I mean, does butter need to look yellow? Well, it's fooling you because that's a lot of coloring added. Really should almost be an off-white, not a yellow, because that's all color added, because in your brain you think that butter should look yellow. And what's absolutely unique about the different butters and the taste of the different butters is actually during the time of year, and the cheese as well. And I'll tell you why. Because remember, the cows eat grass. They are eating natural grass. So during certain times of the year, in the springtime, there's green grass. So the cows are eating green. They're eating fresh grass. So that has a tremendous impact on the milk that's made. And then in the summertime, when there's less rain, they still have to eat. There's no more green grass, so they're eating hay. And that is not green. So the taste profile throughout the year of the butter is completely different. And the cheese, we've lost that here in the U.S. because the cows aren't eating any of that. They're eating feed and corn and pumped up with all these antibiotics. So what you get and what you're fooled into thinking is that this Irish butter and all this Land O'Lakes butter is supposed to taste the same year-round. That is wrong. It should have a different flavor profile. And during these flavor profiles, what's important is what you cook with them during the course of the year. So right now it was mushroom season. So there was unbelievable morel mushrooms. And again, this is something a lot of people don't like mushrooms in the U.S. because you've never tasted a foraged fresh mushroom. You've only tasted something that is made in a greenhouse that is totally fed by fertilizer. There's nothing natural about commercial grown mushrooms at all in the United States. So you tend not to like it. But the woodiness, the powerful flavor of these mushrooms are just so tremendous there. And this chef Olivier was so creative. He has a restaurant called the Three Hats. Trace, I forgot the name, the hats in France, Caputs or something. Again, my French is awful. But he was so creative. He had these mushrooms, and instead of just here, you'd see just goat cheese thrown on the top. He actually kind of whipped up and made a spuma of the goat cheese over those mushrooms. So he allowed you to be your own chef. And this is what I really enjoyed, is every dish that came up had two elements to it. And you can just leave the mushrooms there and leave the goat cheese spuma up on top, or you can mix it all in. So actually, he allowed you to be your own chef, which I thought was very unique and creative. Because then again, you want to go and try that dish again and not mix it up and try each individual dish on its own. And the whole area is also known for its Angus beef. And I'll tell you something, I shouldn't say this, but I got back from Sydney and I just found that beef tough. I had so many opportunities to taste good Australian beef, and it just didn't do anything for me. I arrive and I eat this Angus beef, and I have never had something truly melt in my mouth. And I'm not a rare type of person. I like it medium normally. I never like it well done, because if you get it well done, the chef's going to pick out the rotten piece, nuke it, and give it to you, because you'll never know. That's why you're always supposed to order a medium or rare piece of meat at a restaurant, because the chef can't fool you then. He has to pick out a fresh piece. So that's why you never, ever get a well-done piece of meat at a restaurant. If you want it well done, pick the meat out yourself at a market and cook it yourself well done, but never out of your own eyesight. You're going to get a rotten piece of meat. So going back to this part of France, it melted in my mouth, and it's because, again, they're really a free-range Angus cattle. They're drinking fresh water from a river. So this is the Rhone River of the snowmelt that's coming from Chamonix and all these beautiful ski resorts. So basically, these cows are drinking Evian water every single day, and they're walking all over eating fresh grass. And so you really taste that grass. You just taste that meat. And I really can't wait to import it here in the U.S., because you're going to taste the difference of what this type of beef really truly means to be. Now, yeah, I think the biggest shock to me is when we understood what these dogs were for. And these dogs came out, and it's like, okay, what are we doing with the dogs? Are we going hunting? No, we were going hunting, but not that type of hunting with guns. We were hunting with noses. We were looking for truffles. And we found them. And in this bag here, it was a truffle that the dogs found. And the reason you use dogs, you have to train them. The difference is pigs, you really don't have to train. They'll go for it. But the problem is once the pig finds it, it's going to eat it, where the dogs don't. And this is the famed black truffle. And truffles have been recorded way back of the 20th century BC. And the Romans used it. Cicero talked about it. There is a famous black truffle. It could be $1,000. It's heavy. It's the famous black truffle from one of the most famous regions in all of France. And this is what chefs go crazy. This is known in the French kitchens, or any chef that gets it, this is the diamond in the kitchen. And all sorts of people cut this. They slice it. I like it actually sliced on scallops with a little bit of olive oil. That, to me, is the best use of truffles. But people use it in pasta. They grate it over stuff. And it's very rare that you actually get to see something like this. And I can't wait to bring it to a restaurant and have them cook it up. But, truffles back in the Roman times were found in Libya. That was the big region of that time, and actually on the Isle of Lesbos in Greece. Libya and Lesbos during the Roman emperors 2,000 years ago, because it was much drier during that time. And a truffle is a fungus. It's a tuberg. It's a fungus that grows in the roots of trees. So it's kind of a difficult thing to actually cultivate, which people have done, but it's really something that you have to find. And I was told that this region of France used to provide King Louis of France with, hundreds and thousands of pounds, and they actually wiped out this entire region, and only now it's beginning to come back. And the great chefs of Paris, it's a secret that they go here, and I just kind of let it out. It's where these black truffles are come from. And I actually was shown the secret groves, and I know where to go back and get these, and I will be back and can't wait to bring more of these to the U.S. in my bag. And, in Roman times, it was really used a lot. But then what happened is during the Dark Ages, everybody forgot about it, and it was not used so much at all. And again, the Renaissance area, and why there was a Renaissance is when Constantinople was sacked and everybody had to get out of there, they carried all of these ancient books that were in Constantinople and flooded into parts of Paris and parts of Italy, and this created an understanding of all of this knowledge. And one of those things was a cookbook, and that's where truffles really became de rigueur again back during the Renaissance time. But in the Middle Ages, it was not known, and there's a misnomer about calling it the Dark Ages, because in the Roman times, they used to have this incredible system of lighting cities. People would go around and they had oil lamps all over the town. So in the ancient writings, you had all these unbelievable ancient Roman cities completely ablaze with lights at night, and they had an incredible system for it. So literally, when that system broke down of getting oil and lighting and all of that, it's really where the Dark Ages came from, because the cities were really cast in the dark. And so when you look at these truffles, they're so expensive. I mean, some truffles go for thousands and thousands of dollars. It's more expensive than gold per ounce in a lot of cases. You really find this is a black truffle, but there's white truffles. There's a lot of different varieties. And again, that part of France was an eye-opener because of that. Now, I had gone from there into Paris, and when I was sitting down with some of the chefs there in Paris, Terry Max and Olivier, they again reiterated that this part of France, which again is on the Rhone River about an hour south of Geneva in the Bourg-en-Bresse region, not only is it, I didn't know about it, not only is it really not known around the world, but even chefs and people in Paris are unaware of it. I would say some of the most beautiful villages I have seen, some of the most quaint shops. These are 500-600-year-old buildings made out of stone from the river valley that was brought up. And it's one of the most beautiful nature reserves I have ever seen. So you can walk out and see beavers working and building dams, and you can see deer walking around, and you can look at the fish in the water, and it's all preserved. Beautiful birds flying down and cranes and all sorts of stuff in this massive wetland. And it's all preserved. No one can hunt there. Nobody can touch that stuff at all. It's only when the animals come out in different parts of that area are they allowed to be tagged and registered. And the French are incredibly strict at what people can take and what they can catch. And so, yeah, the idea is, again, this is what I do. I go to these regions around the world. I have deals with Amazon and I have deals with JD.com, which is the Amazon of China. And, I'm not going to take hundreds and hundreds of containers and flood the 900 locations of Trader Joe's with this stuff. No, this is handcrafted. This is the Hermes of making chicken. This is the Gucci of making wine. This is the Prada of making cheese. And so there's only so much of this stuff. And it is a little pricey, but you'd be surprised. You're only talking $1 or $2 more a pound. So if you have the fake Swiss cheese for $5, why don't you spend $2 more and get something from France that's original? I mean, do yourself a favor and really look at this stuff from a totally different perspective, because you're robbing your body from an art form, from a work of art. These are artisanal people that have had these things passed down through generation and generation to bring you a Picasso, to bring you a nice shoe, but it's in the form of food. And if you think about it, they've perfected this, again, over hundreds and hundreds, and in some cases, 1,000 years of perfecting something where it tastes so good. And I'm so happy because I'm like, wait a minute, where can I buy this in the U.S.? We've never brought this to the U.S. What? Where can I get this wine? And there's no wine from this region at all. What? Where can I get the breast chicken in the U.S.? No, we don't bring it to the U.S. yet. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then you wonder why when you go to France, food tastes so much better. You wonder. And so a lot of people are always think I'm this mystery man, or what do I do for a living? It's very simple. I'm the guy that brings the paints to Picasso, okay? You knew who Picasso was, but did you know who his paint dealer was? No. So I'm the one bringing the food to all these famous chefs. No one's going to know me, or I don't want the credit for it, but somebody's got to bring those paints where Picasso and Van Gogh used them to make a beautiful picture. I've got to bring these ingredients from all over the world to give it to these chefs who are artists so they can create beautiful dishes for you. And I am on a tireless quest. I've been doing this for 25 years in over 100 countries around the world. And I get excited day after day after day because it was only 5 years. I could not bring this directly to you. I had to go through a Trader Joe's. I had to fight with the people at all of these different places, and they said, no, it's too expensive. Because Trader Joe's is a race to the bottom. You got to be very suspect with them because you do not know. When you flip something around and you look at where it is from Trader Joe's, they don't tell you the factory that it's at. Trader Joe's doesn't manufacture one thing. They use massive factories around the world to be able to do it. Now, through direct-to-consumer, the beauty of Jeff Bezos and Amazon and many other companies, and the wonderful ideas of Nicholas and Company, which is a tremendous distribution outfit, we are bringing these beautiful projects of the En region to you from France. Thank you for joining me today in Truth and Food. I'm John Robert Sutton here with Swedish Eagle at the Groove Radio Network. And for more information about this program, please visit my website, suttonselects.com, or follow me on social media at Sutton Selects.